we're live.
Thank you, Ron. Today is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. It's 6:07 p.m. at the auditorium. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission. May I have roll call, please?
Yes. So in the room we have Mark Ingram,
Here.
Ruth Hager,
Here?
and I'm here, Sue Hubbard. And then on Zoom we have Bren Marshall
Here.
and Scott Miskell.
I'm here.
Thank you. Looks like we have a quorum. Yes, I'm sorry. Hello? Yes. Oh, I'm going to have to call you back. I thought you were a different call coming. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. Phone rang and I thought it was Pat because I thought I saw Pat's name on there. So we have a quorum here and there, and we have the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as written.
That's Mark. Do I have a second?
And I will second that.
Sue, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's 3. Do I have to vote to make it? No. 1, 2, 3.
Probably.
I think I do make it 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Chair votes aye. Approval of the agenda is approved. 4-0. What's next? Public comments. Do we have anyone here for public comments?
Doesn't appear.
Does not appear so. It's too hot. Chair's comments. Brief. I'm just going to thank Jonathan Tuggan and Kevin Rulli, who are both resigned as commissioners now. And so we're recruiting, of course, or somebody's recruiting. If you're interested, let us know. Or if you've ever been interested in parks and want to see what you can do, let us know. Or let Mayor Barry know. We appreciate their service and wish them luck. The next thing would be Scott Miskell, Director's Report.
Thank you, and I'll be really brief as well. I would direct your attention to the written director's report that I presented at our last workshop. That was all preparatory for what we are doing tonight. So I have no need to restate all of those things. We discussed them at our last workshop, and you have them in writing. So the only things that I will add is that the wall at Crescent Spring has been repaired. That is the wall that has collapsed. We do still have another wall that has, or that's in imminent danger of a failure. We'll talk about that tonight. We also are getting bids to do some more repairs at the road at Lake Leatherwood. We have $30,000 in the budget for this year for that. Also, we're contacting the ones that did repairs last time because some of those repairs are failing, and we'll have them do some repair work on that under their warranty. So those are the big issues that we have coming up. That coupled with the items that are on our request for the amended budget for tonight.
Okay. Anything else?
No. That's,
Any questions of
I think that's
Scott?
all.
Yeah, actually, I have a question, Scott. So I know last year the Commission approved a budget of $30,000 for repairs of the road, and that was
Yeah.
actually paid in in last year's budget in 21. So had we discussed an extra 30, or was that 30 that just got paid early end of the year instead of into this year? Does
No,
that
that was two different repairs. We have, we actually need much more repairs than what we have.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We have
Yeah, I'm not questioning the need, I'm questioning the budget.
Yeah, no, the repairs that were done last year were part of last year's budget, and/or was approved separate. I can't recall whether it was approved separately in a meeting, but that was separate repairs, and then we added the $30,000 in this year's budget.
Yeah, well, the reason I remember this is there was a discrepancy, remember, for at the end of 2021 between what you had estimated and the actual, and the answer was because you paid that $30,000. So I just wonder if that's the same 30,000 that's ended up in both years.
I don't know if I had known that was going to be a question. I could have checked the accounting program and double-checked to see when that was actually paid. I think what you might be talking about, we did do those repairs at the end of the year, as I recall. It was probably November timeframe, and so it's possible that it got paid either late in December or possibly into this year. But I don't think that was the case, but without double-checking the books, I couldn't answer that sitting here today.
I don't recall.
Okay.
But the key question there, and I think if I hear what you're saying, there was 30,000 budgeted for last year and 30,000 budgeted for this year.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my recollection. But see, without going back, I didn't know that was a question. I don't recall whether it was actually in the budget last year or whether it was approved, as often is the case. A project will be approved by the commission that wasn't in the original budget.
Yeah.
And without going and looking at both last year's budget and QuickBooks, I couldn't answer those questions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was approved. It came to the commission sometime in the late summer, fall, and we approved 30,000. Because you were off 30,000 for 2021, I'm thinking that you put it in the 2022 budget, and then then it got spent in 21. I didn't know there was any discussion of having a second 30,000. I mean, I know there was talk about we need repairs sometime in the future.
Well,
Would we have approved
I-
that 30,000 in September and October right before this was spent, or would it have been?
Yes.
We already had budget for this. I'm curious. I don't
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yes, it was approved before it was spent, and then the bill came due around the beginning of the year. But I'd asked a question because there was a big discrepancy between what you had estimated when we were discussing the budget for 2022 and the actual. And so I specifically asked a question about it, and what the discrepancy was mostly was that 30,000 that got paid a year earlier than. So it wasn't.
Well,
I don't really remember
yeah,
what you're talking about.
unfortunately, those aren't, I can't go and look at that sitting here today in the middle of a meeting. I'll have to look at that on QuickBooks and also look at last year's budget.
Yeah. So the
I
que-
definitely
so-
recall that we were.
Yeah, so the question for me is, I know we approved 30,000. My question is, did we approve a second 30,000?
Isn't there always money in the budget for repairs there? I can't remember where it came from, if we moved it over, maybe? I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember
No,
off the cuff.
Yeah, it might have been, if
So
it's
when
coming, if it's coming out of a general road repair fund, then it probably was repaired.
Maybe you're
was
remembering
approved.
it being moved over or something, approving change in line item, maybe? I wish I could remember, I'm
No,
sorry, I have to look.
it was not in, I know it's not in the 2021 budget because we had a, there was an item that we approved.
No, I know that we had discussed the need for substantial repairs, and we were going to do it on an annual basis. We didn't have the funds to make these repairs all in one year, so we were going to do 30,000 each year.
So, so can this be? Is this something that can be done each year? Because then we're going to end up with a very patchwork road. Isn't at some point we're going to need to do the whole thing?
In my view, the whole thing should be done, but we don't have the funds to do it all. So, so what the plan is to do the repairs that this $30,000 would take care of, would take care of the major potholes that still exist. If we have funds at the end of the year to do this, I would then also like to see about having that chip sealed, but sitting here today, we don't have the funds to do that. If we have the funds towards the end of the year to chip seal it, that will put a cover on the road, or at least this portion of the road that we're having all these repairs done on. It also seals it, because a big part of the problem is the cracks that have formed in there allows water to seep through. It freezes in the wintertime, and that pops up the pavement. So ideally, if we have the funds towards the end of the year, usually by October timeframe, if we have those funds, it would definitely be prudent to chip seal over the top of these repairs, and then that will do away with the patchwork that you're talking about.
And I know several years ago, there was always a question whether someone else besides Parks would be helping to pay for the road, because it is not entirely normally up to Parks departments to pay for a road that was, and then we had, just the last 2 years, we discovered that we are responsible for it, right? Because before that, the money in, I'm just backtracking conversations with this. Before that, there was money in road repairs in the budgets, but it's always been about road repairs, not about replacing the whole road, because we never had the money for that.
Right.
And never knew if it was even ours to do. Well, now I know it.
Well, I don't think it was ever determined. It was just if anybody was going to do it, it had to be Parks.
That's what we found out,
But,
yeah.
but we have a new county, we're going to have a new county judge at some point, so it may be worth waiting till we can coordinate with them, get their input.
Well, we have to repair the potholes, though, before that, probably.
Well, and with the new judge, it is possible that we could have a different outcome there. I think it's unfortunate that this is a road that we have to repair. Typically, and this is a county road still.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but in the past, at least, the county has not been willing to make the repairs. And so at this point, we either allow it to continue to get into a worse state of disrepair, or we make the patches ourselves, or fund the patches ourselves. But up until now, the county has not been willing to do so, and Public Works
Right.
doesn't take responsibility for it because it's not a city road. So
Right.
we are left with either allowing the road to continue to get worse, or we repair it.
Scott, can we leave this item with you as a little homework thing, just to confirm and verify that there is budgeted funds for whether it's normal repairs or specifically the $30,000 to do this specific job? Because none of us obviously have a budget in front of us, nor do you. So we can.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, can we just, you go and just confirm that it is in the budget and you feel comfortable that the $30,000 was approved and you have it in the budget, whether it be under the line item of road repair, typical road repairs, or a very specific line item for this specific thing?
And it's,
Yes, that would be fine.
okay, and it's still an
I'll do
item,
that.
I'm sorry, it's still an item under new business that we haven't technically really gotten to yet. So we finished your report, Sue's question. When we get to that as new business, at that point, we can decide to do that, maybe? So, sound good?
Okay.
Okay, if
Yeah.
you'd like. Any other questions of Scott for his director's report? No? Okay, we have committee reports, none, I believe. Is that true?
We don't have any committees.
No committees, I know. Old business is also none. So let's move on to new business. First thing is the election of a commission vice president. Kevin was our vice president. Since he's resigned, we need to fill that position. Would anyone like to nominate some? Would anyone like to volunteer?
I would nominate Bryn Marshall. He's probably screaming at me.
Do I? What's Bren say?
I'm fine with that. I'll
Okay.
deal with him later. I'm fine with that.
Okay, and well then, any other nominations for vice president? Well then, can I have a motion to elect Bren as vice president? Do we do it, we have a motion, don't we?
I move to elect Bryn Marshall as vice president.
Yes, Mark, have a second?
Does it need a second?
Probably not. I don't know, election of officers is weird, it's different than regular stuff. Let's just, I think we do need to vote on it though, don't
We
we?
need to vote, yes.
So, Well, then, yeah, it needs a second. Mark's first. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll do a second.
Okay, that's Sue. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm voting too. Aye. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 4-0. Bren is the commission vice president now. Thank you, Bren. Okay. Second item of new business, the structure of the planning committee. Talk about appointing members. Scott Miskill, I'd like you to kind of jump in here and tell me what you envision this planning committee. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but it's...
Okay, well, as we're all aware, we have a lot of planning issues that are coming up, and we need to begin to get these nailed down and work towards a plan. There's been discussions in the past of, well, are we ready for it at this point? And I believe that having a committee appointed at this time can help to outline the direction that we want to go in deciding the things that, the items that are going to be part of that overall master plan. And we've done a lot of assessment of things over the last year. In fact, that's part of the reason we have some budget items tonight. So we've made progress on finding architects and engineers that can help us. And we just need to have a group that can start to formulate a plan and get public input on what we want in that plan. And I think that is going to take the committee. And the public has been asking for quite some time for input on these sorts of things, and I think it's time that we give it to them and appoint a planning committee that could help us to move towards a formal master plan for our parks.
Okay.
I think, as is typical, somewhere between 5 and 7, or I should say 5 or 7, it should be an odd number. We don't want it too large to where it becomes cumbersome to deal with, and we don't want it so small that it's hard to have a quorum, for instance. Mm-hmm. So I think 5 to 7 people is a good number, and I think we should also try to get some degree of diversity of opinions or of interests. For instance, we have a big bike component, but we don't want all bikers. We want hikers. We want people who are interested in the native plants and those sorts of things. So I think we want people with different interests, different perspectives, and somewhere between 5 and 7.
Okay, we need a commissioner that will be assigned to the committee.
Yeah, can I say something first?
Yes.
So I had proposed a while ago that we needed a committee to be looking at the planning for the master plan. So, I mean, I still don't know if this master plan is going to cover Lake Leatherwood, all the city parks. I mean, we have, as you say, we have a lot of assessment that happened over last year or got started. But are the things that for that plan that we still need assessments? So to me, there's a lot of planning around setting up the plan, and before we get into having people soliciting ideas.
But I think what you're saying is kind of true, but that can take place in this committee.
Yeah, I can. I just want to make sure that we're clear what the committee is, because that will maybe affect who's going to be on it. And I have a question. If we're doing the planning of the planning, is it just one commissioner and the public, or do we have more commissioners involved?
No, it needs to be a commissioner and as many. If only one commissioner is involved, then it's easier for setting up your own.
Right.
Like our previous committees have been, the Trails Committee, things like that. You have one commissioner that's assigned to it.
Okay.
And then you can decide when you want to have your meetings. If you ever have 2 commissioners for some reason that have to be involved, you have to, announce it and all that. But having one commissioner that's the champion of that committee, and then from the department input too, and it's not just the master plan, there's other parts of
Yeah,
It's the
well, that's-
plan, it's planning, it's a planning committee.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think that
that's
committee
the other-
could define itself.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I know Scott had put forward that we needed someone to guide through all the different things that are in process. And I just want to make sure that you're saying it can be everything, but I want to make sure that we have it defined what that committee is so we know what's expected of it.
Well, the committee will
people
define
that reside-
itself.
Pardon?
The committee can define itself,
Okay. Okay.
But-
But,
sort
yeah.
of. Go ahead, Bren.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this thing, and I hear exactly what you're saying, Susan, is that first off, this committee we're talking about would not make a decision at all. They're accountable to this commission.
Well, that's true, I'm sorry, yes, it is.
Yeah, so that being said, the day-to-day projects and stuff wouldn't even fall under this committee. To me, the whole purpose of this thing is absolutely, it's a long-range planning for every single park that encompasses the park systems in Eureka Springs, and you develop by park, whether, well, I'm not going to sit here making a list, but there's so many things that we could be doing at each park, and whether it be activities or building structures or whatever. And I think that the goal of that, to me, the goal of that committee would be to put together this wish list of everything, and that's why you would want to use demographically a very diverse group of people from the community on it. And then we come back to the commission, and the commission's the one that takes those plans, those suggestions, and we truly turn it into a plan. And then that gives us an opportunity when Scott and his team are going after grants and stuff. It's so much easier to go after money if you see the long range of what you're trying to do instead of always fixing something. And so to me, that's the goal. So I wouldn't have any fear that committee is going to be making decisions or working on small projects, because that would absolutely not be the purpose of that committee. They wouldn't have the authority to do any of that
No,
stuff.
But a master plan has a structure. Say it always covers what you have now. So collecting that information on what exists is a big
Yes.
part of a master plan. I see and I think there's something on the park website now saying if you want to input into the park, during this commission, and just having a list of projects. It's part of the process, but it's not necessary of itself, or everything we want.
Well, I guess
There has to be some kind of, I don't know, it just seems that just soliciting suggestions and having no idea how we're going about this plan. Brenna's just said it covers everything, but Scott was just talking about hikers and bikers. He wasn't talking about people doing things in the city. It's not something we've ever made a decision on.
Well, I think that when I said it could define itself, what I meant was the committee, you have people who are interested, they get together, they're interested in long-range planning for parks. They come up with a mission statement for themselves. Our statement is to solicit ideas, or whatever you want to do. And then, like you said, you then report to the commission, and that gives the commission the input. And then the commission itself can discuss, look at the ideas, decide part of plans. It's one of the things I think we're missing. We're missing a good outlet for the public to give those ideas in an informal situation. You can't do it in a meeting the same way you can in a committee meeting.
Yeah, no, it needs to be informal, and it actually needs to be, going much wider than just a committee at some point of going.
Well, a committee, but it has to have something to run it. You can't just have everybody show up. You've got to have a committee and someone that's in charge that's going to make a report that's listed as an.
Yeah, but
I don't really understand. I'm not sure I understand what your concern is.
So can we agree that we follow Bren's suggestion that this master plan will cover all the properties?
Absolutely. That master plan has to be.
That's what master plans are. Yeah, master plans are.
Well, no, you could have, for instance, have a master plan for Lake Netherwood.
Well, yeah, that's right.
But you don't want to break it up. Wouldn't want one for every spring. That would be ridiculous. But it is going to cover every property, because that's the first time I've ever heard that expressed and agreed to it. And I just want to make sure that we are in alignment on that.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely in alignment with it. Our master plan that comes out of the commission as a whole has to include everything we're responsible for.
The old master
Doesn't
plan
mean
does.
you can't have sub-plans underneath that master
Right,
plan for
yes.
each one of the parks or things separately, obviously.
Right.
There are chapters in the book, right?
Right.
But the master plan has to look at everything, and because two or three things. One, we have so many resources, and those resources have to be allocated to each one of these plans accordingly, and we have to have set priorities, and we have to set those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's wonderful about this idea of this planning committee, can also, as part of their thing, is what are our priorities?
Yes, I was gonna say,
When it comes to money
Oh.
and spend and our expenses, where do we feel as a community our money needs to be focused on? And then there are those things that are absolutes that, when you have a wall coming down, it's an absolute, it has to be fixed, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I think even coming up with a list of the properties is not an easy proposition.
Oh, I
I
agree.
think there's been a lot of handshake deals that parks will take care of this for property we don't own. And
That's very fair.
yeah, and I think even just that process of coming up with a list of what the parks is responsible for.
It's been done, but reviewing it and finding it again, and the old master plans or all the things that are written over the years, there are things that say it's all the parks, it's not just like Leatherwood City Park.
Okay, good.
So I think maybe you just haven't seen those if you want.
No, that's fine. Whenever we talk about master plan, this discussion always goes to Lake Leatherwood, and I just wanted to make sure that we were covering everything.
I think that, and you're right, I think it does, but I think that's because the public input constantly asks about it, but it really is the whole master plan.
Well, also all the
Yes.
assessment, we're doing some things at Basin Park, but all the assessment we have done in preparation for this plan has been at Lake Leatherwood.
Right, recently, yes, but
Yeah.
not in the past.
Okay.
There've been lots of things, for the whole master plan, but that's what a planning committee can put together, come up with some priorities and come up with
Yeah,
some lists.
and then there's been significant assessment at Basin Park and also at Crescent.
And years ago, there were things at Basin Park, and there have been various things for some of the other little parks in town. When the park was done next to the museum, there was some planning and things. So there have been things done, it just hasn't been cohesive in a while, and this will help it to be a more cohesive plan.
So what would be the next step?
The next step would be to find, thank you, Mark, be to find a commissioner that wants to be the champion liaison, whatever, I'm going to say champion of that committee. Who are we missing tonight, Pat?
Before Mark volunteered me for something else, I was prepared to do that. I still would do that if it falls within time constraints to do that. But Susan, I think it's imperative that it contains every single park in this. We just got to have long-range planning for every single thing
Yeah.
we have that we're responsible for.
Yeah, and remember, long-range planning is the proper name for that. I think long-range planning is the name we should
Yeah,
keep
no, I
referring to
agree
it.
with you. It just needed to be articulated because it hadn't been, and I say the focus so far had been on Lake Leatherwood.
Well, Brenda, if you're interested, because being vice president doesn't require a whole lot as long as the chair shows up, or vice chair, rather. Vice chair is his president.
Absolutely.
So if you're willing, then let's count you in, Bren. And then if you need my help or need Scott's help or Nikki's help in putting out some communiques or figuring out with Juanita, the new employee in the Parks office is doing great. Sue can help distribute stuff through minutes and things too, so just let us know. Pick a time for a meeting and then start recruiting some members.
Cool.
Okay? At your
Awesome.
schedule. Okay, thank you, Bren.
You bet.
Okay, Trails Committee, kind of the same thing. We've got to get the Trails Committee in shape again to do what it's done before, and over the years, there have been different iterations of the Trails Committee. I think that with all the resources from, say, Northwest Arkansas Trailblazers and all the different trail organizations out there, there are lots of places to get input and information to help make some plans and definitions of what trails are old, what trails are, what is the responsibility of the department versus the commission when it comes to trails? We need to kind of research that and get some more clear-cut answers there. Scott and I talked about that in the office last week, or the week before. There's these, you're repairing, you're replacing, these are old trails. Yes, you shouldn't have to come to the commission to ask to fix something that's broken if it needs to be fixed, especially for safety reasons. But we don't want to reinvent the wheel, too. Maybe that's something that the Trails Committee can work on. There's lots of other things from the old Trails Committee that kind of fell apart during COVID. Carmen did a great job with that. I think we need to get that going again.
I would volunteer as a commissioner on the Trails
Okay.
Committee. I'm going to assume that Sam Dudley would lead the Trails Committee.
Yeah.
right?
The commissioner who is the champion or liaison of the committee does not have to be the chair of that committee. Yes, you just have to be assigned to it.
Yeah, I would also be interested in being on Trails Committee.
Well, if we can't have to, then I would be happy to let Sue do it. So,
Okay.
if she's probably is more active with the trails than I am, but that is something I would be interested in if somebody else wasn't willing to jump on that.
Okay, well, if you want to, and we can also check, all you have to do is make sure that the meetings are treated as a properly announced to the press.
Okay.
So if you're both interested, fine. If one of you's interested, and once you get there, you let Sam run it or whatever, and either both of you shows up, that'd be fine. Y'all can decide. For now, I'm going to list both of you, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so Sue and Mark will work together on getting a Trails Committee, come up with a time for a meeting, get ready to, there were previous members that Carmen that had before and previous trail committees, so you've already got a list probably that you can pull from. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to withdraw. It just seems like it's much easier to have one person do this.
No, do it.
Yeah, because
Please.
even having initial discussion of who should be on the committee, Mark and I can't really get together and discuss
No,
it.
you please do it. You're probably more knowledgeable about the trails than I am, and I have no problem with that at all. I just wanted, if I was going to be on one of these committees, the trails would be the one, but I don't need to be on one. I'm busy. So
Yeah, and once
I'm
you
okay
have
with
a
that.
chair of the committee that you are assigned to, you don't have to go to the committee meetings. You are not on that committee's thing. You're just the commissioner assigned to them. So it's fine if you want to do it. That'd be fine. And you just get someone to chair the committee, someone like Sam or somebody,
Let's put Sue.
and Sue could be the commissioner. Okay, fine. Thank you, Sue. Okay. Anything else about that? Item 4, new business, was considering approval of 2022 amended budget. As we discovered during the director's report, Sue had some questions, and there is not clear about the budget for the road repairs, so
Yeah.
Scott,
I don't think, if Scott is looking into that, I think that's fine. It wasn't necessarily one of the items that we needed to vote on.
so you're prepared to vote without,
Yeah, I'm
Scott's
willing to vote, for the changes that were put forward, yes. That would be, the
everyone else,
roads would be a separate issue.
everyone else
It may
prepared,
not be an issue, I just was questioning.
everyone else prepared to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is it just a single motion I need, or do I need separate
Look-
parts? Let's see.
Can we have Scott specifically
Yes.
spell out these, the actual changes? Just
Yes. Yes, I will. And I've done that in writing, and I would suggest that the best way that we would do this is whoever makes a motion might consider the document that I have. It's the one-page document that says narrative supporting request for 2022 amended budget. That has each of the changes.
Okay, okay.
And you'll see there that some of those I lowered the budget requests from what had previously been approved in order to try to come up with the funds to fund the other items.
Okay.
So this page outlines each of the changes, whether it's an addition or a subtraction. So in reality, now I'm happy to explain any
No,
of these. if
you
you'd
don't
like,
need
but
to,
we
Scott.
did-
I see, I forgot, I did
Pardon?
read all of this, and I wasn't actually putting that together with these changes. So net is the total change in the budget is a positive $15,334.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
And there is a written narrative that supports each individual request that can be referred to in the documents that Scott sent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, I still have a question about the professional services for Basin Park and why we're reducing that when we know we are going to need to spend it.
The reason that we removed that is we did not have the funds that were necessary to, we don't have sufficient funds to pay for all of that. But we're not going to just leave it. Kylie Heverty at City Hall has indicated that she does have a grant that she is going to apply for Basin Park. let me restate that. I'm sorry, I just misspoke. For the dam, which is why I didn't include anything for the dam railing, and also for the bathhouse. That leaves us with looking at other alternatives for grants for Basin Park. I do have a meeting with CATC, I believe it's this Friday, about them possibly funding it. There's been discussions about funds from
Preservation.
the city budget versus, so it's that we are going to have to go looking for funds for that. We just simply don't have the money to do what we need to do in Basin Park. I'm optimistic that some of these entities that have expressed an interest in possibly assisting with funding of repairs at Basin Park, that some of that might come through.
Yeah, I think looking for partners in that Basin Park project makes a lot of sense. The city, and if Kylie's helping, and we could find some ways to, CAPC, work together to do that.
We're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars for Basin Park, and we just simply don't have it.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I think what you have now is a good strategy, but I mean, just doing the assessment and finding out the conditions may be a good thing, or maybe we shouldn't put that off too long. If we can't come up with other funding, maybe we should readdress. Obviously, we can't do the design, doing more of the design and the repairs is obviously going to take a lot more money, and we're going to have to find other sources for that.
Oh, when the time comes,
we
we can.
certainly can do that. As I recall, the engineers' proposed contract for the assessment portion that they still have to do in Basin Park was approximately $15,000, and that is just to get the assessment of all of that done. Some of the assessment has been done. For instance, there's been core samples, et cetera, but there's roughly $15,000. But all that does is defines the problems. It doesn't even begin addressing solutions or repairs or modifications.
And that's
So
also,
we
I'm sorry.
literally.
Go ahead. So that's also why you put the note at the bottom of your narrative that explains that some of the budget additions and things that are other sources of funding being searched for, grant applications, et cetera. You know, the Basin Park Plaza design, Basin Park bandshell design are both listed specifically in that note you made. Those are big ticket items that we need to worry more about finding large sources of income for.
Yeah, I guess my point is just with the, as the same as we want to have the watershed assessment so we can get more funding, we may need to know the problems. So I think it's great to give you some time to go and look for that 15,000, but if it isn't happening soon, then maybe it needs to come back to the commission.
I absolutely agree with you, sir. I would love it in one document somewhere to see what our issue is that really fully describes what the issue is at Basin Park. If we already have it, then I'd be happy to read it. I think I have seen a couple of things, but as a whole, what is our goal, what is our target, and what do we have to do for Basin Park so that we know what to go look, where to get, how much money to get, where to get it, what we're asking for, what has to be done, what is a must-do, what is a could be in the future thing, but what is a must-do in the nearest future. I would love to see one document that in actuality is the assessment.
Of the need, yeah.
We were doing that.
Personally,
Perhaps we should make. I'm sorry.
well, no, what I was going to say, I think I'm supporting you, Scott. Ultimately, I think to do what needs to be done in Basin Park is far greater than what we have the budget for. But I also think that if that park got shut down because of something falling in, it would be detrimental to downtown Eureka Springs. And if it fell in, it could be years that it's closed down. So I think personally, if we've got the funds in an account to go ahead and finish those assessments, we get them done. Because how can we go after people and say, these are going to be the issues and this is how we repair them if we don't have the assessments? I
I think that's what I was saying.
Well,
Yeah,
what-
I mean, that's
What I
what
would
I'm saying.
propose that I could put that summary document together for our next workshop, and we could make that the focus of our next workshop, if that makes sense to everybody.
It does, and
Yes.
that'll also give us a chance to think about the fact that, like we said, searching for those partners in that situation. I really feel like what Brent said, we all know, the Basin Park, there ought to be a partnership in maintaining and fixing what's there. And we can make a document can be made, talked about workshop, and then discuss how to approach partners.
Right.
So, okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, so I will do that for our next workshop, and I'll try to get that document out to you sooner rather than later, so you have time to review it before the workshop.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions on the narrative and the request for the amended budget?
So is it possible that we can still vote on this as it stands, knowing that we're going to turn around and come back on this assessment as a separate item?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, great.
Because that's just an item, a line item that says professional services. You know, there are, if something were to happen, we can go back and request a specific, what do you call that? Move it from one line item to another, things like that. Thank you. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Now prepared to vote? I have a motion to approve the amended budget request.
I move to approve the amended budget request as stated in the narrative supporting request for 2022 amended budget as supplied by Scott Miskell for a total change in the budget of $15,334. Or addition to the budget.
Addition, yeah, total change to positive, okay. Okay. A second?
I'd second.
Sorry?
I'd second.
Bren, okay. It's Mark. Bren, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes 4-0. Done. Okay. Commissioner comments is all we have left, I believe.
And approve of minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that they are. So let's do commissioner comments. Mark?
No comments.
No comments. Bren?
I will say this. I drove over to Leatherwood the other day, like at 1 o'clock. It was on Friday. And it was so nice seeing so many kids swimming and just not that it's a clean area to swim, but there was just lots of activity. And I was reminded, as I keep telling myself, that park is so much more than just bikes, while the bikes are wonderful. I can't wait to see all of our parks being full of just really cool activities. It was very pleasant.
Good, yeah, I think, the paddle boats and the marina and the fishing, we forget how much activity takes place down there. We've seen the increase in revenue down there from those things. We know that people use that, so it's good. Sue?
No comment.
No comment? Anybody else? Me? No comment? Okay, now we can look at the minutes from the previous regular meeting,
April 19th.
April 19th, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 19th regular meeting, 2022?
I so move.
Mark? I have a second?
Second?
Bren? Discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Chair says aye. Motion passes 4-0. The minutes from April 19th are approved. Okay, any other announcements or anything? Okay. Have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Mark, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Sue? Discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Chair says aye. 4-0. Motion passes. We are adjourned. What time is it?